So I'm like reading a lot of these silly comments with people in the security industry um, targeting or making allegations or negative context with reference to law enforcement officers, specifically police, like county, city police, moonlighting and working security gigs um, as and to include working with wearing their equipment and maybe even using law enforcement equipment during their overtime or their side gigs with reference security for private clients. um, you know what? I've hired and been involved in positive interaction with local law enforcement in my career on the private side with reference using local law enforcement as not only as providing security but also as trainers. So as a professional, I see it as a double plus of interacting with local law enforcement, using those resources, and if they are using their equipment from their department, that the department should be compensated for the use of their equipment. It shouldn't be something where they're gaining some kind of benefit from the use of government gear in order to further whatever they're like whether they're making a financial benefit from it or something. But you see, historically, for me, for years, I did a lot of my own stuff. I paid a lot of stuff out of my pocket to make it a point when I was in law enforcement that it was known that everything, my endeavors, anything I did for my personal business stuff was not connected to the organization or who I worked for. Just because there's a lot of people that gossip and they're just haters. Again, I these comments about them competing or affecting the security industry negatively is all garbage. You know what? If you're a trooper or a county sheriff or a city police and you're in a place or a state that allows you to moonlight in uniform and use your own equipment, I think that's a great thing. Now, the pros and the cons, right? So, like, if you're a client of somebody who is an active duty law enforcement officer who's providing that additional security resource, you have to acknowledge that if something goes bad, they are performing as a law enforcement officer. They are not performing as a private security guard. So the rules are different, the laws are different, the implications of things are not the same. Your expectations might not be the same as far as the outcomes. But and then at the same point, you have that continuity and connection with local law enforcement, and it's something that builds on your programming. So I remember a long time ago, 30 something years ago now, I can't believe it, I'm that old, but 30 something years ago, young kid, I worked as a security guard with local law enforcement officers, and they would have one or two local law enforcement officers working the security detail, and they had like 15 security guards, armed security guards that were assigned, and it was like a double deal where you had a little bit of the local community law enforcement connection, government connection with reference to the private security force endeavor, and it worked really well. And that communication and that continuity of like that onion method of security worked so well that if I remember correctly, we had very few or no incidents at all because of the presence and also these intercommunications, these connections, and it was just a great deal. So the silly comments, this is such a bad thing. It's not. I noticed when I started getting involved in ACEs, I noticed the hatred a lot of people in ACEs had towards local law enforcement folks, specifically retired law enforcement going into the leadership ranks of security programs. And I'll tell you what, yes, it's true. Not all police or like county or whatever jurisdiction they worked at may be well versed in security programming, because it's like anything else. I mean, if they worked investigations, they may not have worked physical security or security details to a point where they understand the ins and out of providing security programming or protective service details. Like, I'll never fake it. I am not a bodyguard person or a protective service detail person. I know enough when it comes to the physical infrastructure, physical security component of it, but I'm not an expert when it comes to bodyguard work. And so that's the same thing for a lot of these police officers. They may not necessarily be well versed in this stuff, but because of their credentials and the trust the community has in them, they tend to get bumped up the ladder because people have more expectations of what they're going to be able to bring to the table when it comes to a well-established security program. It's unfortunate, but what happens is, in most instances, they don't do as well because people expect them to already have some of these skill sets, and they kind of fake it till they make it. Some of them just don't make it, but that doesn't discount the opportunity and the added value of bringing law enforcement folks, specifically police folks, into the ranks of an organization, and also allowing those who want to moonlight out of their agency, as long as it's within the scope of their policy, to bring their equipment over to your program. And like I said, the most successful experience I've seen is that you have armed guards, and then you have the moonlighting police officers and all that, where they work together. So then that way, there is no hiccups when it comes to your private security, constitutionality concerns, and the implications of having law enforcement people there at your place. And sometimes there may be some water and oil kind of situations where you don't necessarily want to have situations where your clients or people that are in your organization that may get caught up in something because they are police. And so there's that expectation that they still enforce city, state, and county laws. An example of this is security guard detail. Okay, security guard detail, police officer, county officer, sheriff's deputy works a detail and sees somebody, one of your clients or somebody, rolling on your property with expired tags or something, and the cop thing goes into drive, and of course he's going to look at the expired tag. He's going to put together with reference to who this person is. He's going to start asking questions within his mind, and then he eventually is going to put himself in a situation where he's going to have contact with this person in order to figure everything else out. And in that instance, it might be something innocent, but now it escalates as a result of the police officer, the cop, enforcing laws and not focusing on the physical security component that you hired them for. So my thoughts, again, I've had great experiences. I think if you get it right, if you reduce it all down to writing, and you explain what the expectations are, and you focus on the mission with reference to, okay, this is how we're going to operate, and you have a good rapport with that law enforcement leadership, the sheriff, the chief of police, most times you're not going to have any hiccups. But there are things that you should be concerned with, and you should make a determination when is it an added value and when it's probably not necessarily of benefit to your program to hire active duty police to provide help with reference to security programming. Talk to you guys soon. I thought it was worth sharing because people are making stupid comments about law enforcement, and it's not warranted. There's a lot of great people in law enforcement. Specifically, I'm talking about police, cops, city, county, state cops that really could bring a lot of benefit to your program. And as long as they're allowed to moonlight in the state or jurisdiction you're at, it's nothing but a plus to add them onto your security plan. Talk to you guys soon. Bye bye.